there is still a fight between Alex Spiro and Tony Busby about a dismissal for this case. So the last update that we did on the stream pretty much was the judge slamming Jay Z and Alex Spiro, saying that the way that you guys are going about this process, you guys are trying to skip the line, you guys are trying to circumvent certain legal type of time-based periods that some of these processes go through. The way that you're talking about Tony Busby and you're being inflammatory, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, go that way. And I suggest you don't try that shit again. They stepped on Alex Spiro and Jay Z and said, no, we are moving forward. The club just opened. Stop trying to clear the dance floor. Okay. But since then, Alex Spiro is still on his shit. I said before, and I'll say it again. I fuck with Alex Spiro, man. He's aggressive, whether that's because that's how he's moving on this case or whether he's being put up to that, obviously, by his clients, Jay Z. They have a lot of cause and reason to get this shit thrown out ASAP. But Alex Spiro is still going for his dismissal. So look at this. This is from Alex Spiro right here, okay? Dear Judge Torre or Torres, we write on behalf of the defendant Sean Carter, pursuant to Rule 3, Your Honor's individual practices in civil cases, to inform the court that Mr. Carter seeks to file a motion pursuant to Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 12B to dismiss the first amended complaint. Right? So he's still going. And I'm not going to drag out through all this legal jargon of what codes he's using to reinforce why he still believes that there's a tactical way to still try to put a dismissal on the table. But he's still pushing for it. He's still pushing for it. And if we look at this, this is dated 12/30, people. 12/30. All right. This was Monday. This was Monday. Alex Spiro, after the judge kicked his ass, he's right back here knocking on the door of the judge and saying, hey, we got something else to talk to you about. Dismissal for this, maybe? Huh? What do you think? So the lawyer wars continue. And if you think that that's up to date, people, it gets even more up to date, okay? There's actually a response from Tony Busby on that already. Look at the date, people. That went in 12/31. That's yesterday. Tony Busby already replied to that. And you got to use logic there. The last thing that Tony Busby wants is for this case to be thrown out, not just because obviously he's seeking to get his client some money, in which case I'm pretty sure he's going to walk away with a little percentage, put a little something of that in his pocket, but it then enforces the rest of his clients if he could win or not get this thrown out, right? And then on top of that, that continues to possibly spare him from the attack that Jay Z and Alex Spiro cannot wait to wage on him. You can tell Jay Z already said it in his initial statement. Look, we're going to handle this, and I'm going to show you I'm not like the rest of these celebrities. Tony Busby got to fight, not just for his clients now, but also for himself. So immediately, 24 hours or less, Tony Busby comes back. Your Honor, I write on behalf of Plaintiff Jane Doe in response to defendant Sean Carter's letter dated December 30th, pursuant to which defendant requests leave to file a motion pursuant to Federal Rule of Civil Procedure to dismiss plaintiff's first amended complaint. Defendant states his intention to move for dismissal on the grounds that that Doe cannot pursue her claim under the New York City Victims and Gender Motivated Violence Protection Act, New York City Admin Code. More legal jargon. Defendant's argument as to the GMVA is unpersuasive, as it is contrary to the law's primary intention to make it easier for victims of gender-motivated violence to seek civil remedies in court, not, as defendant would have it, make it harder. So basically, the code that Alex Spiro is going at and the little legal loophole, I shouldn't say loophole, but, you know, the legal code that Alex Spiro is going after to use as a dismissal, Tony Busby is here saying that that's not being upheld in court due process. That's not being upheld by legal stature here. So their move to motion, for dismissal here underneath this code and the GMVA Act, that's not really correct. And Tony Busby does have it. When we first met Tony Busby, what did we say about him? We said, yo, this looks like what do they call him? The 1-800 lawyer. This looks like just a money grabbing, bottom dwelling, leech of a lawyer that saw Diddy get arrested, saw Diddy get indicted, put up a 1-800 number and said, call me if you want to make some money together. That's what it looked like. Turns out Tony Busby's reputation is strong. Tony Busby, once we started doing our homework on him, we realized and we learned that, yo, this guy's his resume, his accolades, his win percentage, the type of cases that he's been dealing with all this time. No, Tony Busby is not just some fly by leech lawyer. He might be doing a leeching type situation right here related to Diddy, but he's serious. He's serious. He's not for the games. And he's meeting Alex Spiro halfway here. So this turns into a war of the lawyers just as much as it turns into Jane Doe, the 13-year-old versus Diddy and Jay Z. And I say that not to undercut a possible victim. People, stay with me. Okay. But more legal jargon by Tony Busby. Let's move down to this paragraph right here. A little bit more context. Similarly, defendant also intends to seek dismissal on the grounds that any viable GMV law claim is time barred under New York's Child Victims Act, the CVA, which preempts plaintiff's GMV law claim. However, this court in Doe versus Golding, or he's giving a reference, found that local anti-discrimination laws are generally not preempted by state law in New York. He gave an example and I see that. I've seen that in situations that I've been in. I've seen that before in other cases. Lawyers, let me go to the judge before I talk about the lawyer. No judge is perfect. No lawyer is perfect. No plaintiff is perfect. No defendant is perfect. No doctor knows every single cure or remedy. A lot of times doctors deal off of a database, right? What are your symptoms? All right, let me type it in. Let me figure this out. Okay, this is probably the medicine that you need, right? They have a foundation of knowledge, and then there's a database that also constitutes how they treat their patients, okay? It's no different than a lawyer. No different than a judge. You think a judge remembers every single legal code? No. But that's where a good lawyer comes in. A good lawyer will, in a very, very respectful manner, teach a judge the situation at hand. What they'll do is they'll say, yeah, the reason why this should not be dismissed, and also, by the way, judge, your honorable judge, this also happened 2 years ago in a very similar case underneath the same code, yada, 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 and this is why it stood. And then that's put in front of the judge, and this lawyer's write-up, which is very, very strong and compelling at that point, and has factual basis and past situations to back it up. And the judge reviews that and says, shit, I'm supposed to be the judge now to do something different? That's not correct. I shouldn't do that. So that's a good move on Tony Busby to reference situations in the past where this has been upheld. And then once again, here at the bottom, sincerely, we call him Tony. Yeah, that's short for Anthony G. Busby. All right. So that was just the updates. Now, let's get directly into the title where it says paperwork shows Jay Z was always a target. The backdrop of that, people. I'm going to stand on until I see anything different that changes my opinion. And if so, I will be fair and I'll come up here and I'll admit it. But right now, I stand on the claim as it relates to Jay Z is bullshit. Well, let me ask y'all a question. If Jay Z wasn't in this suit and the suit was just about Diddy, how would you feel? Would you say, this is possible? Or would you say, shit, just like Uncle Murder's wrap up that he just dropped last night? Whatever they say Diddy did, he did that shit. Right? And I say that with no jest towards the victims and these sensitive situations. But if this was Diddy on his own, would y'all sing a different tune? I think a lot of y'all would. I'm not saying that you would say that he's guilty, but a lot of y'all would hear it out more. But Jay Z, we just don't see it. We're not hearing about the freak offs and the baby oil and all these other victims alleging that, hey, you did something to me. There's 100 of them at this point, plus for Diddy. There's only one that we're hearing about today as it relates to Jay Z. So it seems more far-fetched. So when we had that whole initial story break, when we found out, oh shit, Jay Z is being accused alongside Diddy for allegedly R-ing a 13-year-old, right? The details came out. The details said that this was a suit that went in towards Diddy in October. Later on, Jay Z was added. That within itself made me feel odd. I was just like, now all of a sudden you want to add Jay Z to some shit that you already had in flight, in the works. Maybe you thought that this potential victim was a little bit more solid, maybe closer to making some money, maybe had a more compelling situation, story, and case. You got them situated to go on NBC. This is your star victim right here of the 180. This is your top dog to go get paid for you, right? And then you added Jay Z later on for weight. It's like, all right, let me try to rationalize that a step further. Does it feel like extortion? Because we hear that under like Jane Doe and miscellaneously, Jay Z filed a suit against Tony Busby, right? So Tony Busby goes to Jay Z and says, "Hey, man, we should talk. My victim done said some shit about you, man. Here's a demand letter." And Jay Z interprets that as extortion. You're trying to get some bread for me. I'm not just going to pay you off to be quiet. Nah, I'm going to actually sue you and then we're going to fight. And then it all comes out that he gets added and he was the one that was anonymously filing a suit against Tony Busby and his firm. So then I say, all right, I agree with that too. It does feel a little extortionist. You know what I'm saying? Jay Z's taking a stand for himself, for Diddy, and anybody else, and we already don't believe the story. But let me go back and look at the initial paperwork because I never did. I never did. I wanted to see for myself how fraudulent is Tony Busby, if fraudulent at all. Because if we can pick them apart, a judge can pick them apart very easily. So let's take a look at it because I didn't hear anything of that nature come up that would crack this case and make it even more dismissible on Jay Z's side. So let's pull up the original paperwork, people. So I pulled this up and I looked at it for the first time this morning. Now, this was filed October 20th, 2024. Just like we heard, initially it went in against Diddy. Now, if you look at the plaintiff, Jane Doe, this is filed by Tony Busby as the plaintiff versus Sean Combs, Daddy House Recording, all of his LLCs and companies, et cetera, Bad Boy Entertainment LLC is there. And at the bottom, where now we see Jay Z's name, what does it say? It says Does 1 through 10, and it says, and individual Does 1 through 10. That's what it says. And individual. And that also tells me one thing, too, real quick. Not saying that it can't change, right? We hear the term superseding indictment. We see changes in paperwork. We see amended paperwork, right? In suits, right? So I'm not saying that things can't change. But what this tells me is that at least Tony Busby was never looking to, at least at this time from November when it was amended, go after the alleged female that was in the room. Okay. It was always about Diddy. And if you rationalize this, it looks like we're going after Diddy. And in the background, the person that's not in the headlines yet, the person that's not sitting in jail yet, Jay Z, I'm going to talk to him. Let me just show you the difference. Let's take this down and let's bring up the amended paperwork, right? So here's the amended paperwork. The amended paperwork now and Sean Carter at the bottom, okay? Now, if we look at the introduction, let's just read the introduction of it. Defendant Combs drugged and awed a 13-year-old girl at a house party. Many others were present, but did nothing to stop it. Some participated in it. Combs has been allowed for years to conduct himself in this manner without any consequences. He believes he is above the law, and he is not. For decades, Sean Combs, aka P. Diddy, described herein as Combs abused, molested, awed, assaulted, threatened, and coerced women, minors, and others for sexual gratification to assert dominance. Now, if I search this for Sean, right? This is I'm sorry, my bad. I'm not scrolling for y'all, am I? My bad. Let me scroll for y'all. My bad. I didn't scroll for y'all. Can y'all see? Y'all can see, right? Y'all can see now. Okay, my bad. If I search this for Sean, not Sean Combs, spelled with E-A-N, but Sean, S-H-A-W-N, as in Jay-Z. You see this introduction, people? You see how different it is? Look at this. Defendant Sean Combs, it's the same write-up, but now you add Sean Carter to it. You see this? Along with his lifetime friend. This is the amended piece here. You see this? It's the same write-up, But this is the amended piece. And once again, if we scroll back up, this is where Sean Carter is inserted. Let's take this off. Let's go one more comparison. Let's go back. One more comparison to the original joint. Nope, not that one. Hold on. That's the amended. The original joint is this guy. Look at this. Without Sean Combs' names in it. I'm sorry, Sean Carter's name in it. It's the exact same shit. Look at this. Minus Sean Carter added. I mean, the word is amended, right? So to see that this was left open, y'all know me. I said every time, people, I'm going to be fair. As much as I think that this is bullshit towards Jay Z, that absolutely is what happened. Tony Busby said, Diddy's in the public already. He's already sitting behind bars. He's already indicted. Everybody's got their eyes already on him. So we're just going to go public with this. And tactically and chess move wise, it makes sense. That is your initial pressure. That's your one of showing the rest of the world that you mean you mean that you're here to really, really be on your shit. Like you're not playing no games. You're really, really filing shit on Diddy. This goes in, it's publicly accessible so the world could know about it. And then the Jay Z's of the world, you go to behind the scenes. Look, I got you in this paperwork. I could amend this shit at any time. I think we should have a conversation. Jay Z wasn't going, and then he updates it. But the whole time, if he didn't have that this whole time, an individual, I would have questioned it. And I would have said, listen, to me, it looks more like Tony Busby hits up Jay Z, potentially to see if he's willing to settle behind the scenes. Jay Z says, fuck you, I ain't going. And then Tony Busby says, okay, bet, I got something for you. And he goes and adds him to a pre existing suit. No, he always had an alleged anonymous person, AKA Celebrity A, AKA Jay Z, added to the initial October suit. He always targeted Jay Z for this particular suit. And if you guys want to see some quick, scary stuff when it comes to Jay Z, there's probably videos of this type of stuff. But the initial indictment, what Tony Busby did directly towards Diddy was show the judge in this indictment how dirty of a person allegedly Diddy is. So, like when you look at number one, he's talking about the drugging of the 13-year-old allegedly. Number two, for decades, he's abused, molested, assaulted people, etc., etc. Let's keep going. You get down into bribery, kidnapping, prostitution. This is where he lays out his businesses. And number three, laying out the businesses, of course, is where you could try to say that they're liable or to some degree involved in some of these actions and these acts towards these people, because I can't even just say women, there's men involved too, right? Number four, on the surface, these businesses. So basically, he's saying that some of this shit is a front. Number four. Number five, members and associates of the Combs business engaged. So he's putting other people in it. Number six, Combs business constituted ongoing organization whose members function as a continuing unit for the common purpose of achieving the objective of Combs. Once again, laying out other people. Where is it that it starts to get into the actual specific cases that he laid out? Here we go. Number nine, on numerous occasions from at least in or about 1996 and continuing for years, Combs assaulted women and men by striking, punching, dragging, throwing objects at, and kicking them. Combs also assaulted children both physically and sexually. 1996, he's found guilty actually of criminal mischief for threatening a photographer from New York Post with a gun. Stuff like that. He's building the character of Diddy, right? Tony Busby is not playing with this initial write-up. This is not for play. So he brought back up 1996, where he was found guilty of assaulting somebody with a gun. That swept under the rug because I didn't even remember that. Then again here, what's this? In 1999, he was arrested and charged with second-degree assault and criminal mischief in connection with assaulting a record executive. So that looks once again like Diddy's on some more like, yo, what I say goes. 1996, 1999, both assault. What's this one? This one is another instance of violence occurred at Los Angeles hotel in or about March 2016, which was captured on video and later publicly reported, where Combs kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at. That's the Cassie stuff. Okay, so we know about that one. What's this one? In the past year, numerous civil complaints have been filed by plaintiffs who allege that they had been sexually abused by Combs between 1991 and 2009. In November 2023, three lawsuits were filed against Combs under New York Adult Supervisors Act. Cassie's included in one of those. Look at this. Number 12, Joy Dickinson Neal also sued Combs in New York, alleging Combs drugged her and then sexually assaulted her. Liza Gardner, whom Combs met at an event hosted by a record label affiliated with Bad Boy, sued him for R-ing her and a friend in 1990 or 1991 when she was 16. In December 2023, an anonymous plaintiff sued Combs in New York for drugging and gang R-ing her in 2003 when she was only 17 years old. Number 15, in February 2024, Lil Rod, we know about this one. A former producer sued Combs for forcing him to engage in unwanted sex acts and sex trafficking, among other allegations. Number 16, in May 2024, former model Crystal McKinney and April Lampros sued Combs. Miss McKinney alleged that Combs drugged and sexually assaulted her at his recording studio in 2003. All this drugging and, oh my goodness, look at all these, and all of these people. I don't believe that these people are tied to Tony Busby. In July 2024, former adult film star Adria English, who was employed by Combs as an entertainer at his infamous white parties that brought together the biggest names in the music and entertainment industries, sued Combs in the Southern District of New York for sex trafficking. How do you sue somebody for sex trafficking? Is that telling on them, or are you saying that you were involved in that? That's interesting. In September of 2024, singer and songwriter Dawn Angelique Richard also sued Combs. Richard was employed by Combs as part of the girl group Danny DeCane. Okay, I remember that one. I think I remember that one. Formed by Combs and later as a key member of Combs and band Diddy, Dirty Money. I remember that. In September 2024, a federal grand jury in Manhattan indicted Combs and charged him with sex trafficking. So he's even used in the original indictment. The amount of background on Diddy that he's shown to the judge, you know what that does? I mean, it's very clear. It says this person is extremely capable of this. That's what it's saying. It's saying, like, you better pay attention to my story and my client because he's been doing this shit since 1996. Tony Busby, yeah, I think he's got some bullshit to him. I do. But the fact of the matter is, people, Tony Busby is not for play. How many times I gotta tell y'all? I'm gonna come up here, I'm gonna be straightforward, I'm always gonna be fair. Tony Busby is not for play. And as much credit as we give Alex Spiro, who's the one that just got fucked over the other day in court by the judge? Alex Spiro, right? For his methods. Who was the one that just put in another motion for dismissal on the 30th, Monday? Alex Spiro. Who stepped up and said, no, judge. Can't do that. And here's why. Yesterday, Tony Busby. I mean, it's an expected, high profile, very sensitive situation with a lot to lose on both sides. But this adds credibility back on the side of Tony Busby more than we were giving him prior. I got to keep it 1,000. Seeing the original indictment and then comparing it to November when Jay Z was added, the facts are the facts. That's black and white. We just pulled it up, people. So more credibility points for Tony Busby. Doesn't mean that I fuck with this overall accusation, but I don't think that this is going anywhere. I would probably bet on a scale 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. There's not going to be a dismissal. Jay Z and Alex Spiro, they can't get to this point of fighting this and the type of public statements that Jay Z made that we're not going. You can't just let me pay you off for a situation like this. We abide by code, and I have a reputation to uphold. And then on top of that, I'm not opening the floodgates, right? Jay Z can't go backwards from that. He shouldn't go backwards from that. So I think he's going to fight that. But unless Alex Spiro finds a way to get this dismissed based on a technicality, based on the things that he's trying to put forth, like what he did in his press conference, like, hey, technically this can't happen because the amount of time when this person was never there, and we're proving that Jay Z and Diddy was over here and the house doesn't exist with the U-shaped driveway. Unless he could find a way within the actual, legal bounds and process that the judge will allow, because you see some of the shit they was doing is like, no, that's supposed to be 20 days and you tried to reduce it to 1 day. It's not happening, right? If he's within the judge's legal bounds and he finds a crack in the wall to exploit, then I believe, yeah, you move towards dismissal. If not, this is going to go forward. And Tony Busby is no pushover, nor is he an amateur by far. So I say all that to say those are the updates of the lawyers fighting again. And that's more credibility to the initial indictment. And if this goes longer than anticipated, do not be surprised.
Don't confuse silence with work ethic. I'm a boss making decisions, my first fetish. The verse cherished is perfect, that's a reverse blemish. I dropped it, connected the block, learn Tetris.
This is the Sorry It's True podcast. Welcome to the house up. And shout out to the members.